Although we are sharing this year's event virtually, the festival is based in St. John's, Newfoundland and Labrador, and we respectfully acknowledge the land on which we gather as the ancestral homelands of the Beothuk, whose culture has been lost forever and can never be recovered. We also acknowledge the island of Uktahumguk, Newfoundland, as the unceded traditional territory of the Beothuk and the Mi'kmaq, and we acknowledge Labrador as the traditional and ancestral homelands of the Innu of Ntsinan, the Inuit of Nunatsiavut, and the Inuit of Nunatuhavut. We recognize all First Peoples who are here before us, those who live with us now, and the 7 generations to come. As First Peoples have done since time immemorial, we strive to be responsible stewards of the land and to respect the cultures, ceremonies, and traditions of all who call it home. As we open our hearts and minds to the past, we commit ourselves to working in a spirit of truth and reconciliation to make a better future for all.
Hey, I'm Johanna Schneller, a Globe and Mail columnist and one of the co-hosts of the CBC show, The Filmmakers. Welcome, everyone. We're so glad you're here. The first thing you need to know about the DGC Visionary Award that we're presenting today is that it's the only one of its kind. It's a partnership between the Directors Guild of Canada and the St. John's International Women's Film Festival. It began in 2019 to celebrate a woman filmmaker who has made an extraordinary mark on the industry. The second thing you need to know is that the track record of recipients is already excellent. The first was legendary actor and director Helen Shaver. Last year, it was the equally renowned director Elle-Máijá. And the third thing you need to know is that this award doesn't only laud the winner. The winner chooses an emerging director who receives a cash prize of $2,000 to go toward their next project, because of course, a visionary pays it forward. Helen Shaver chose Newfoundland director Melanie Oates. Elle-Máijá chose actor and director Agam Darshi. And pretty soon, we'll see who this year's winner chooses. I'm so pleased to let you know that this year's winner is Deborah Chow. Deborah Chow is a Canadian filmmaker, television director, and screenwriter with one of the most enviable jobs in the world right now. She's the sole director on the new Disney Plus series, Obi-Wan Kenobi, due out next year. It stars Ewan McGregor as Obi-Wan and Hayden Christensen as Darth Vader. Of course, we're sworn to secrecy about it, but Deborah's road to Tatooine is pretty inspiring. Her parents emigrated from Australia to Toronto, Ontario. She studied at McGill, where she made her first short film. She earned an MFA from Columbia and then embarked on a fantastic trajectory as a director, from short films to festival features. Her first feature, The High Cost of Living, won the Best Canadian First Feature Award at the 2010 Toronto International Film Festival. She then began directing television of all genres, including Better Call Saul, Mr. Robot, The Murdoch Mysteries, and The Mandalorian. She really embodies the spirit of the DGC Visionary Award, and I'm thrilled that we're going to be presenting it to her on behalf of the Directors Guild of Canada and the St. John's International Women's Film Festival. But first, let's take a look at some of her work. Welcome and congratulations, Deborah Chow.
Thank you so much. And thank you so much to the DGC and to the St. John's International Women's Film Festival. It's a huge honor to be receiving this award, and I'm really grateful to everyone for it.
Well, it's great to see you. Thanks so much. You're joining us from LA?
I am, yes.
Fantastic. Can I ask you just a couple of quick questions? When did you know you wanted to direct?
It's interesting. I don't have one of those stories that a lot of people do that when I was 6 years old and I picked up the Super 8 camera. It was not like that for me at all. I think, when I was growing up, I was a big avid reader and I was really into sort of literature. And so when I went to McGill, I was studying sort of literature and cultural theory and art history. And it was sort of happenstance actually because I was sort of considering an academic career or various things. And in my final year at McGill, I ended up making a short film and I was really into it and kind of really liked doing it. And so that was sort of the path. And then I went to film school, but it took a while for me to figure it out.
Huh. Directing, it's such a grab bag of skills. Like you never know what you're going to need or what you're going to use. Is there some skill or something that helped you that maybe surprised you or that you didn't expect would contribute to your life as a director?
I think the basis of it ended up being story and actually so literature and sort of studying both art history, which was the visual side, and then studying literature, which was just really about craft and writing and stories. It's to me, it's sort of the underpinning of everything I'm doing. At the end of the day, it doesn't really matter how fantastic something looks or how big it is. It all comes down to story and character. So that's sort of the basis of the craft, I think, for me. And then I think for the other part of it that has taken time and it's sort of developed, and I think I found it over the years, is it's a lot about sort of the vision and the point of view. And it's about sort of developing that to kind of trust your own instincts and, realize that, you see things in your own specific way, which is a result of your upbringing and your experience, which is also part of why we need more and different point of views in filmmaking is to tell different stories and to have different point of views on different material. But I think at the end of the day, those two things, like the craft of story and then having sort of a specific vision or a point of view about how that story is told and how that's visualized, is what sort of became the foundation for directing for me.
Yeah, yeah, I love hearing you talk about the importance of story. I could not agree more. Um, well, of course, now you're doing it at this incredible level. What's it like? Are you having fun? What does it feel like?
It kind of, even from going from a short film to, sort of bigger projects, at the end of the day, in a lot of ways, like, obviously it's different. There's a lot more involved in it as you get onto bigger projects, but it sort of does come down to the same elements. It comes down to the stories, the performance, the creative team that you put together to articulate it. You never have enough money, you never have enough time. Nothing's changed. From doing small things and scrapping it out, like making my own shorts or doing a first feature to now it's the same thing. The canvas maybe becomes bigger, but at the end of the day, it's the same basic essentials.
Mm, that's so interesting. And now we probably have some aspiring filmmakers watching today. Any advice for people who want to do this, especially women, since this is the Women's Film Festival?
I think my advice would be, it's really about that point of view and about that storytelling aspect of it. Is that I think for a lot of, and particularly women, I feel like, sometimes it can get daunting feeling like I don't know anybody in the business, which I didn't either. I had nobody in my family who did. Or I don't know all the technical aspects, and it can feel like, I don't know. But at the end of the day, I think it's about having a story to tell and feeling sort of passionate about telling it and knowing that like your specific point of view on the world and what you've gone through as a person is what shapes that point of view is unique, and that's truly the most important thing. And so I would say, I think to aspiring filmmakers out there is make the work, just, I feel like a lot of times people, they're trying to figure out how to get there in the process. But if your heart is in kind of making stories and telling stories, then even if you're doing it with your iPhone or you're doing it, with limited means, start telling those stories, because at the end of the day, the story and your voice and how you tell those stories is the most important part.
So yeah, I do think you are a perfect selection for the Visionary Award. Thank you so much. As I mentioned, a big part of this award is to choose an emerging director who receives that pay it forward portion of $2,000 for their next film. Deborah, you've chosen the actress and filmmaker Elle-Máijá Tailfeathers. Elle-Máijá Tailfeathers is a Blackfoot and Sami writer, director, producer, and actor from the Kainai First Nation. She's won several accolades for her film work already. Born in Alberta, Tailfeathers began acting in the late 2000s before becoming a filmmaker. With Kathleen Hepburn, she co-wrote and co-directed the narrative feature, The Body Remembers When the World Broke Open. It premiered at the 2019 Berlinale in the Generation program and went on to win numerous awards across Canada, including the Canadian Screen Award for Best Director and the top prize at an organization that I belong to, the Toronto Film Critics Association. She's currently starring in Danis Goulet's very buzzy film, Night Raiders, which had its world premiere at the Berlinale Film Festival earlier this year and recently screened at TIFF. Her latest film, Gimme Be a Bitsin, The Meaning of Empathy, is a feature-length documentary on her community's brave response to the impacts of substance abuse and the ongoing drug poisoning epidemic. It premiered at the Hot Docs Canadian International Documentary Festival and is screening as the closing night film here at the St. John's International Women's Film Festival. Welcome and congratulations, Elle-Máijá Tailfeathers.
Hi, thank you so much. It's such an honor.
Deborah, I don't know if you want to talk a little bit about maybe what grabbed you about Elle-Máijá's work that made you want to award her this way.
Yeah, for Elle-Máijá's work, I mean, I think for me, I would say she feels a bit more emerged than emerging as a filmmaker. And I think that she already has her own very distinct voice and her point of view and all the work she's done. And what I loved is kind of like what I was talking about earlier, is that I feel like she's telling stories that I haven't heard, and she's telling stories that are based on her own life and experience or what she sees. And I think it's really important. So for me, the biggest thing is that I felt like I'd love to see more work, and I'd love to see her do more.
All right, Elle-Máijá, you want to come on and say anything more?
Just that I'm so honored and grateful for this recognition. Deborah's achieved extraordinary things in the industry, and it can be so challenging as a racialized woman in this industry to break through, especially in television. So I think Deborah's achievements are remarkable, and I'm just so grateful for all the work she's done, because it helps pave a path for the rest of us. And I'm surprised she even knows who I am. So, it's a true honor. Thank you so much. This will go into my next narrative feature, which is still a long ways off, still writing the script, but that's where the prize money will go. So thank you so much, both to Deborah and the DGC and the St. John's International Women's Film Festival.
All right, thank you, and congratulations again to both of you. It was so great to be with you today. Thanks to everyone at the DGC and the St. John's International Women's Film Festival, and thank you all very much, everyone, for joining us. Bye-bye.